everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea with S&B. I'm Stesha and Becky's here. Today we're going to talk about vulnerability. And so I just want to jump right in. And first I want to start thinking about how can we normalize vulnerability or being vulnerable in this culture? What do you think about that, Becky?
Oh, normalizing it is hard because we're raised, especially, in this day and age, we're supposed to be tough and strong and take care of everything ourselves, and we're supposed to know all the answers and have all the ideas. And sometimes life just throws you a curveball, and you have to ask for help. So normalizing vulnerability, I think, takes practice. Um, I think you have to show people that you're open to the idea that you will accept their help or their ideas or their you know criticism or what or their feedback or whatever. So I think we have to practice that and reach out to people even when we might not need as much help as we think we do. um it never hurts to ask. So
No, I like that idea of practicing because really to get good at anything, you have to practice it. That's what we always say about public speaking, right? The only way that you're going to get good at public speaking is just to practice it any chance you can. We can't wave a magic wand or snap our fingers and just be good at something. It takes practice and it also takes intention. And I think that's a big part of being vulnerable is one, recognizing when you're having a difficult time with sharing your emotions, showing people call them weaknesses. I don't think they're weaknesses. I think if you're able to share your vulnerability, that actually makes you a stronger person and more self-aware. So I think the first part of it is recognizing when you're having a moment where you should be vulnerable, but you're not. And then the second thing, like you said, is to just practice being vulnerable. And one way that we can really normalize this is when somebody is vulnerable to you or with you, pay attention to the way that you respond to them. Because part of the reason that we have difficulties being vulnerable is because of what someone has said to us or reacted towards it in the past. We got some type of a negative reaction or don't, you can't cry, don't cry, hold in your emotions, just do better. It's not a big deal. So part of it, I think, is validating people's vulnerability and validating their emotions because then they start to have that sense of, oh, it's okay to share. I'm not going to be criticized for sharing. So part of it is challenging yourself to be vulnerable, but then also recognizing how you're responding to somebody who's being vulnerable with you.
that's so important to recognize that somebody is sharing something that might be difficult for them to share, or asking for help, and it might be very difficult for them to ask. So to recognize that and acknowledge that really shows your openness to vulnerability, but also shows them that it's okay to be vulnerable. Um, do you have a hard time asking for help when you
I
need it?
do. I do. I do. And I think part of that was just the way that I was raised. So, it was work harder, be better, be tough. And I think I just got accustomed to that. Like, oh, something goes wrong. I don't need help. I'm just going to put my head down, work harder, and work my way through it, which you can do that. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, I am stressed and exhausted, and I get gray hair. And I just don't feel well. And one of the biggest transitions for me was learning how to one del as a leader, being in a leadership position. The first thing I had to learn was how to delegate tasks because I can't do everything myself. And also, I don't have all of the strengths and I don't have all of the answers. There are people on my team that do things better than I do. So why wouldn't I delegate those tasks to them or ask for help? And it's possible that you have someone in your life or someone that you know, or even someone you don't know who can do a certain task a lot better than you can. It'll take the stress off of you and the task will get done better. So for me, I'm gonna be vulnerable and say I still have a hard time asking for help, but I am much better and aware of it now than I used to be. And every time I do ask for help, the resolution is always so much better, and my health is so much better than it would have been if I had just done it myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I come from a long line of just do it yourself kind of people and never was taught to ask for help. I was told to figure it out, do your best, you know. It's a tricky thing to actually acknowledge that you need help. I am quite bossy, and so I delegate well. My sisters will tell you how bossy I was. I was the oldest. So I helped. I was the helper, but I never received a lot of help and I didn't ask for it. So for me, it's almost impossible to ask for help. I'll sit for hours and try to figure something out before I will call the one person I know who already has it figured out and say, help me. So I'm trying to get better with that and let someone help me. But that is a hard habit to break, definitely.
Have you noticed a negative impact on anything when you because it sounds like you still sometimes struggle to ask
Mhm.
for help a lot. So do you notice any kind of negative impacts from that?
Yeah. Well, people in my life get frustrated with me because I'll get frustrated because I can't do something. And they'll say, why didn't you just ask for help? Especially like with home repairs. I'll just go and figure it out and try to fix it myself. I mean, I put in new windows by myself. I'm pretty resourceful, but then there's, my husband's funny because he'll see me trying to do something and he's like, "Why didn't you just tell me you wanted that done?" He's a carpenter. He can do this and that. I'm like, "Well, I was just going to get it done, when I could have gotten it done a lot faster had I just asked him to help or ask him to do it." So, yeah.
Yeah,
I struggle a lot with that one.
yeah, I think a lot of people probably do. I think that's a really common problem.
Mhm.
And we obviously are speaking from, a woman's perspective and just kind of that mindset or mentality, but this is probably something that a lot of people, regardless of who you are, where you come from, we all kind of possibly struggle with this. So I'm thinking, why do we have a hard time asking for help? So for you, like what makes you afraid to be vulnerable, or what makes you feel like you don't want to ask for help?
I think it was just ingrained in me to be independent and strong and take care of it yourself. I'm very independent. My mother was very independent, and so was my father. They kind of paved their own way. They didn't have a lot of help and they were successful. So it's just expected of me to not ask, just, be independent and find your way. So I think for me, I was just raised that way. And even my grandmother was a very independent lady. She didn't even take her husband's pension because she had her own. She didn't need his, which, is kind of crazy, but at the same time, she was that independent. So I think that independence is ingrained in me and um it's part of my personality almost.
Yeah, and it sounds like it could also be a learned behavior, like a
Hmm.
generational learned behavior. And I feel very similar to the way that I was raised, but then I also think about it and I think about it now as an adult in my career. And now that I'm aware of those things, what still holds me up? And I think that it's because I don't like inconveniencing people. And I feel like if I'm asking for help, I'm bothering them or I'm
Hmm.
not wasting, but I'm taking up their time. And so I feel like I would, instead of inconveniencing someone or bothering someone, I would rather just do it myself because I would rather be stressed on my time than cause anybody else stress. And that I feel like that could be part of it too, is being afraid of bothering people. And
Yeah.
in reality, it's kind of the opposite because when that person finds out that you did it, like your husband finds out you did it yourself, they're like, "Why didn't you ask me?" You know? What's wrong with you? Why didn't you ask me? They wouldn't have been bothered at all. So I think it's something internally. Like, I
Mhm.
assume I'm bothering you, but in reality, I'm really not. So it's really interesting to think about. Like, I would challenge you all to sit down and think, Why? Why am I afraid to ask for help? Why am I afraid to delegate tasks? Why do I feel like I have to do everything myself?" And maybe part of that too is that as is trust. Maybe you have a difficult time trusting somebody to do the job as good as you. Because for me, that's cleaning. Like I would rather just clean it myself because I know it's going to get done the way that I want it done.
Mhm.
And sometimes if I have somebody else clean, when they're done, I still am looking at it thinking, I really want to re-clean that. But part of that too is ch picking and choosing what you focus your time, energy, and attention on. Because in the grand scheme of things, if it's clean, it's clean. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it gets cleaned, as long as it gets cleaned and I have help with it, you know? So I think
Right.
part of that too is letting a go of the perfectionism. If you're somebody who is like that, like I would rather just get it done myself because, it'll be quicker. But at the end of the day, if you say that with everything, it's not quicker because then your schedule just gets full of all of the things that you could have asked for help with.
Yep.
So, are there any other tips that you would like to share regarding vulnerability?
No, your cleaning thing just brought to mind the dishwasher. If I ask for help, it doesn't get loaded the way that I would do it. And so I have to really, really just thank you for helping me and let the dishwasher do its magic, even though I know that it's not loaded correctly or to the way I would do it. So I think your advice about, it doesn't matter how it gets done as long as it gets done. And to use your resources, use the people in your life that have skills and gifts that you don't have to help you get everything done. So,
Love that. So relatable. And if you guys want to share something with us too, maybe something that you don't like asking help for, but you probably should, feel free to share that with us. We love to hear all of your stories. But
mhm.
we appreciate you for joining us today with Spill the Tea with S&B, and we look forward to connecting with you next time. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Bye, everyone.
Bye.